2021's Halloween Kills used to be the Infinity War of the modern-day Halloween franchise, an bold film that elevated the scope of its predecessor, however in the end felt like an incomplete story. But alternatively of bringing things domestic with an endgame equivalent, Halloween Ends performs out extra like Game of Thrones Season 8, a rushed entry that skips over necessary personality development, variety of simply forgets about plot factors from the ultimate two movies, and ends up betraying what made this reboot really worth observing in the first place. David Gordon Green's trilogy capper does experience like a definitive ending to the Halloween sequence led by using Jamie Lee Curtis, however followers would possibly be begging for any individual to take some other stab at it alternatively than ending Michael Myers' reign of terror on such a bitter note. Did you take note that Michael was once a youngster who stabbed his sister, killed a few babysitters, left one survivor who spent many years making ready for his return, then determined himself trapped in her burning house, however by some means survived, and escaped to homicide the survivor's daughter? Green and co-writer Danny McBride, working this time with Paul Brad Logan and Chris Bernier, anticipate you don't, as Halloween Ends kicks off with a total flashback sequence recapping the complete story so far. The have faith troubles solely get worse from there, as the horror movie continuously reminds viewers no longer simply of moments in Halloween history, however of matters that actually passed off minutes before, and of persona relationships that have to be apparent via now. Everything that isn't bluntly pointed out is swept beneath the rug. Michael's slaying of Karen, Judy Greer. Don't fear about it. The total city enacting mob justice towards Michael Myers at the give-up of Halloween Kills, then dropping miserably? What? Things as everyone's nevertheless scared and paranoid. Instead of resolution, Halloween Ends. Alternatives up 4 years after the occasions of kills, with every person having forgotten about Michael, and the Strodes often on the sidelines. Green and his cohorts reframe the motion on an unrelated character, Corey Cunningham, Rohan Campbell. And as for the Shape, he's been in hiding, till Corey stokes his thirst for blood. Despite this whole trilogy supposedly using on the shoulders of Jamie Lee Curtis's Laurie Strode and her trauma, Halloween Ends by no means dives deeper into the trauma's significance. It has more than one characters, consisting of Laurie's granddaughter, Allison, Andy Matichik, to guilt Laurie into wondering that by hook or by crook, Michael's return was once her fault for obsessing over him, despite each the audience, and a couple of personality witnesses like Allison herself, understanding otherwise. The tonal shift borders on victim shaming, and an entire betrayal to what was once supposed to be the core of this movie. Thankfully, Jamie Lee Curtis nonetheless shines as Laurie, who we meet right here at a one-of-a-kind factor in her life. 4 years after her brutal encounter, Ends finds Laurie writing a memoir, baking pies for Allison, and flirting with Will Patton's deputy Hawkins. After 2 emotionally heavy performances in the preceding 2 films, it is honestly pleasant to see Curtis get to flex her comedic muscle tissues for a while, handing over some surely humorous moments that need to add gasoline to the hearth of her current feedback about looking to do any other Freaky Friday. Though Halloween Ends looks in a huge rush to attain the end line, it dawdles towards the motion one may assume from a Halloween movie. That's due to the fact most of the 111-minute run time is spent on Corey, who turns into a social pariah after a lethal incident one Halloween night time and receives surprisingly obsessed with Michael Myers. If nothing else, the flip is ambitious. Halloween Kills elevated the scope to the whole town, and Halloween Ends makes some daring selections via Corey's storyline, as the movie explores whether or not evil is something created by means of one's environment or something already inside us, unshakable, and simply ready to be unleashed. Halloween Ends continues the thread from kills of asking whether or not Michael Myers is a 70-something-year-old mentally unwell man or evil incarnate, a supernatural being that heals himself through the act of killing and can nearly bypass on his essence to others. Unfortunately, Green doesn't appear fascinated in answering the large questions. Nor can he locate new approaches to brighten up Michael Myers, focusing on Corey for most of the runtime, and the usage of a vastly extraordinary and greater angsty tone that belongs in a Kevin Williamson Scream script as a substitute than a Halloween one. He discards the modernized John Carpenter visuals and digital camera work that grew to become critical to his first Halloween sequel for a much less innovative or full-of-life movie. The place the digital camera barely moves. There is, of course, an proper disagreement between Laurie and Michael, one that arrives too little too late. After an hour of following Corey, there are some cool and grotesque kills, however,